Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez, and before we dive into all the things email marketing and how you can get results from it for your horse business, I'm going to briefly introduce myself just in case we're new friends, and then we'll dive right in. As I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners ditch the marketing overwhelm and get the clarity they've been craving so they can grow their business in a way that meets their definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then through education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you as well. But all that I do here, friends, is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, can be out in the barn or the arena, behind the computer, behind the camera lens, whatever it is that you are doing to serve the equestrian industry. I want to help you do more of that. And so here on the podcast, you can expect a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your horse business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And today we're doing that by way of diving into email marketing on a very practical level. Now, I have a question for you. If I were to ask you, what do you think is the most sustainable way for you to market your horse business? What would you say? I'm so curious if you would say email marketing. I know that I would say that, but many people think that just because social media is free, quote unquote, there's no financial investment unless you're running ads, but there is definitely an investment of your time and your energy, right? But either way, many people think that's the case, but the reality is email marketing is what is sustainable for you. Now, I'm not actually here in this episode trying to convince you that you should try email marketing, but I do have one where if you're on the fence, I want to invite you to listen, and I will give you 3 reasons that email marketing is the key to long-term sustainability for your horse business. Now, that is episode 136. It's called The Best Investment You Can Make in Your Horse Business. And after this episode, I want to invite you to go listen. You can go to stormlily.com/136 for episode 136 to get directly there. Or I will have a link to that episode in today's show notes, which is stormlily.com/165 for episode 165. All right. So I have that for you. If you're on the fence with email marketing, I want you to listen to that episode. Now, in addition to that, I do have a free email marketing guide available for you. So if you go to stormlily.com/email guide or head to those show notes, I'll have the link there. You can grab my free beginner's guide to email marketing, specifically created for horse businesses. It's going to give you the step-by-step process with links to resources, space to take action, because that's where the magic happens. So grab that free email marketing guide if you're in the beginning stages of email marketing. It doesn't matter what season or stage of business you're in. This is if you're starting out with email marketing, grab this guide, okay? But for today, if you've started email marketing or you've been considering it, but you're just not sure how you're going to get results from it, this episode is for you. Now, specifically, if you are someone who's listening and saying, Denise, I tried email marketing or I've been trying it, but I just don't feel like I've experienced the wins from it, this is an episode I want you to save and take notes on. Now, the reason I even created this episode and came up with this idea is because I received an email from a podcast listener who has been taking action with what she has learned here on the podcast, which I love. That's what it's here for. And so she's built her email list to 300 people, but she wanted to know, how long is it going to take to start seeing results? Or is there a certain number of subscribers I should have before I see those results? And of course, that's a question that requires quite a bit of thought and response to give a real thorough response. I gave her some thinking points. I told her to stay tuned because I'd be creating this episode to address that specific question. And here we are. So if you've been sending emails to your list, but you're not getting the ROI that you expected, there are some specific things you can do or ask yourself to boost your results. And that is exactly what I'm about to give you. So make sure that you've got a notepad handy or you go to these show notes because these, friends, are not just learning points, they are action points. Okay. All right. Here are the 5 tips to boost your results for your equestrian business when it comes to email marketing. Number 1, qualify your leads. It is not just about building a list for the sake of building a list and saying you have it. Every email address in your system is a lead for your business. So if email marketing isn't working for you, I want you to consider if they are actually qualified leads. Now, of course, that means you're going to need to do the work to determine what's qualified when it comes to your horse business. Who is it that is best suited for you, your business, your offerings, your products, or your services? Okay, so you have to know who it is that you're best for. And from there, then you say, okay, Denise, how do I know if my leads are qualified? So I'm going to give you some questions to consider. All right. Number 1, how did they get on your list in the first place? Were they qualified when you added them or when they signed up, or it was just a matter of trying to build an email list? Number 2, did you ask permission? That means, did they actually choose to opt into your list? Sometimes I get the question of, can I just buy a list? Or what if my friend who has a similar product or service shares their email list with me and I pay them for it? Or we do a trade and I import that into my email marketing provider. That's not okay. That's not asking for permission. It's not qualifying your leads because they didn't say they wanted to hear from you. And frankly, it's actually not legal. So what's going to happen is they're going to mark you as spam, and that's going to decrease your deliverability, meaning you're going to land in less inboxes. And so just know that asking for permission is a very big component of doing email marketing well and getting the results that you want. The other thing to consider when you're considering if your leads are qualified is, did people join your list because they saw you at an event and they just signed up to get a free whatever or enter into a drawing? Now, drawings can have their place, and I know many of you are using them effectively for list building. What I want you to consider is if your free whatever or the drawing that you're having that they get to enter into is a way to qualify your leads, meaning use something that your leads would be interested in, okay? And then they're qualifying themselves when they sign up. So just consider that. If the people on your list were just a bunch of people who were interested in a free item at your booth and they didn't really qualify in any way or give you any qualifying information on the entry sheet, they're probably or possibly not qualified leads. And similarly, if you have been building your list through a partnership, for example, I know many of you will do giveaways in partnership with others and, have that online. That can be a great thing for building your list if your audiences were aligned. And again, if that free thing that you're giving away aligns with your business and draws in the people you're best suited to serve. One more question for you to consider, and then we're going to move on to our next tip. But I want you to consider if your lead magnet or your freebie, the thing that you are using to attract people to want to get on your email list, is that lead magnet attracting the ideal people you want to work with or sell to? There is a lot of weight that I want you to give to creating a lead magnet that gets the right people in the door in the first place. Okay. It's not just about if they land on your website, you want everybody to get on your email list. Okay. It's not. So I want you to even consider more than that little box that says, stay in the know, join my email list. How are you qualifying them? Are you telling them what's going to happen on the email list? Is your content or your copy on your website qualifying them? That's how we're going to get the right people in the door. So before we can expect a return on investment from your email marketing, we've got to know who's on the list. So number 1, qualify your leads. My second tip for you is to know your stats. Here's what I mean. Do you know if your emails are even being opened? Do you know how many people are opening them? Do you know if people are clicking on the links that you've provided? If you are not sure, it's time for you to log into your email marketing provider and start tracking your stats. And it does not have to be complicated. All right, I'm going to give you 4 things that I want you to start tracking so that you can see trends in your email marketing. Number one, the open rate. That literally is just the number of people or percentage of people on your email list that are opening your emails. Now, the great thing is, if you listen to that episode I gave you earlier, episode 136, you're going to learn that the average open rate for emails, give or take some percentages, of course, based on industry, is about 20%. So if you're getting higher than that, you're doing well. Most of my clients, because they've really harnessed this idea of qualifying your leads, are getting 40 to 50% open rate. So it depends largely on your audience for sure. But tracking that is so important to help you know if you're getting a return, to know if people are even opening your emails. So open rate. And then I want you to look at click-through rate. And that is, of the people who opened your emails, how many people are clicking? And then what links are they clicking on? And all of these things should be available inside of your email service provider. Now, the fourth thing is the unsubscribe rate. I want you to pay attention to that, but let me give you a word of encouragement / caution. Do not freak out when somebody unsubscribes from your emails, and do not take it personally. And can I say, I know this can be hard, which is why I'm pointing it out to you. Unsubscribes in general are okay, and it means that people are realizing, hey, I'm not a qualified lead here, so I'm just going to go ahead and unsubscribe. It is not a personal thing that they don't like you or your business or what you're doing or what you're selling. Now, that being said, the reason I want you to pay attention to this is if you are seeing a lot of people, a high number of people unsubscribe from your emails every time you send one, then you're going to want to look at your content and you're going to want to look at your leads. And again, make sure you're getting the right people in the door and that what you're giving them is valuable. Because if lots of people are unsubscribing every week, then either you're not getting the right people on your list or your content is not valuable enough. All right. And we'll talk about that in the next tip. Okay, so those are the 4 things I want you to track. They're simple and easy enough. You can create a simple dashboard inside of a Google spreadsheet or an Excel spreadsheet, whatever the case. Just those 4 columns at the top. And then on the left, you're going to put the date you sent your email, the subject line, and what are those items, okay? And the reason we're doing this is because it allows you to spot trends or issues and then diagnose further if needed. For example, if you consistently are someone who gets 35% open rate, and then you have an email that all of a sudden is like 50% open rate, then you might look at that. Wow, what did I do in my subject line that was different? Or was there a day and time difference? Did I send that on a different day or a different time than I usually do? Those are the 2 things when it comes to open rates that I typically recommend testing. Your subject line is key, and then day and time can be an important factor as well. Now, I'm going to give you a tool that I love. It's completely free, and it's not an affiliate link. It's just something that's cool. If you go to subjectline.com, then they actually help you optimize your email subject line. So you can put it in there and you can ask them to optimize it, and they'll give you some specific pointers. They'll give you a score, and they'll give you some suggestions for how you can improve it specifically to get people to open it. Remember, that is the purpose of your subject line, to get people to open your emails. Now, aside from using stats to guide your decision-making, the other reason that knowing your stats is important is that it requires you to know what a win looks like for you when it comes to email marketing. So the other thing that you can track is how many of X happened as a result. And X is the goal that you're going for in those emails. So is it that you're trying to book more trial sessions at your barn, or that you want new customers to land on your website? Or is it a specific product that you're selling or a service that you're selling? Perhaps it's some content you've created, and so you pay attention to the views on YouTube because you let people know you have a new video out there. Whatever the case is, know what your win is, know what your goal is, and then you're going to know how to measure the results. All right, my 3rd tip for you. The next tip is for you to guide your email list to the result you're after. So my question for you on this is, are you both serving and selling to your email list? Oftentimes, the issue here is that you're only doing one or the other. But for effective email marketing to actually get results, you need to be doing both. So how do we serve? What does that look like? Provide value. Now, that could be a personal story or a note that you put in there for a point of connection. It could be sharing some of your favorite things related to what you do in the industry. It could be giving them news of a new resource or video or other content that you have created or that you have found. There are lots of ways for you to provide value to your email list. And the best way to come up with the ideas is to go back to what your definition of who you're best suited to work with is and create value for that person. Now, why is serving so important here? Because the reality is, if you only show up in their inbox when you have something to sell, they are less likely to open your emails because they already have learned. You have trained them. The only thing that's here is they're selling to me, and they're not here for that. Sometimes that will result in a lot of unsubscribes. And other times, they may not take the time to unsubscribe, but they will just delete your email based on the subject line, and then you don't have those opens, and they're only going to open it if the subject line pulls them in some way. But even if you start using really good subject lines and all you ever do is to sell, they're going to stop opening them. All right. You've got to make the ask, but you've got to lead with value. Okay. So next part, the ask. So oftentimes when it comes to an ROI on email marketing, you're leaning too heavily one way or the other. You're serving a lot, but you're not asking them to take any action that serves your business, or you're selling a ton, but you're not serving. And so let me just remind you, it's okay to make the ask. When you do, I want you to give them an easy way to take action and make it very clear how to do it. Okay. You have to guide them on this journey. Now, that doesn't mean you need to say, click here all the time in your emails. Thankfully, email marketing's been around a while. If you make your link a different color and underline it, or if it's just a different color and bold, they're probably going to understand that that's a link. So make it easy, but you don't have to say, click here for this, click here for this, click here for this. Okay. Now, one word of caution here. Sometimes an email can be loaded with so many calls to action that your receiver has paralysis analysis. They're not really sure what action you want them to take, so they don't take any. And that is not what we're after. So if you're sending an email with hopes that your list will take a specific action, for example, you're launching a new product or program, or you're having a sale, then I want to encourage you to not give them too many calls to action where then they are not really sure what you wanted them to do. So it is a lovely balance of keeping the main thing while still providing some value. All right. Now, I'm going to give you one more caveat, because there are for sure email newsletters. And if you all get mine, if you sign up for that free email guide, you'll start getting my weekly email newsletters. And I don't give only one call to action. I do have some sections in there where it's like, here's a resource, here's the new podcast episode, here's what I'm learning, and here's some ways that we can work together. So there are different calls to action in each section. But if I'm in a period where I am promoting something specifically, such as enrollment for one-on-one coaching or an online educational program that I'm promoting, those sales emails are only going to have one call to action. And that is to apply for coaching, or to sign up for a free discovery call, or to buy the product or join the online workshop, whatever the case may be. So when you're in a specific promotional period, 100% that email needs to be focused on that one call to action. Okay. But when you have a newsletter, you have some leeway, but just know that you're going to decrease the chances of them taking a specific action because you're giving them multiple options. Okay. All right. Number 4. The fourth thing I want you to do to boost your results when it comes to email marketing is to tell stories. One of the best ways to build connection, illustrate a point, and even make a sale is to tell a story. Neuroscientists believe that our brains actually learn better through story because it activates more areas of the brain than when we just take in factual information. I love this. I love it when we can see the practical and then the science backs it up and we say, well, yeah, that makes sense. When somebody tells me a story, I connect things differently. I have a link to this article on the show notes, but there's an article called Why Storytelling Works. And goes through the science of it. And I just want to pull out 3 things for you to let you know that there's science behind this. It's marketing, but also it's true. It's how we experience life because stories command human attention. So I think this is interesting. It's estimated that our human brain is estimated to engage in up to 2,000 daydreams a day and spend up to half its waking time wandering, which is crazy. But in the presence of an interesting story, they have found that mental meandering, right? All that daydreaming and all that movement, it goes to 0 because they are honed in on the story. I find that fascinating. And when you think about your email marketing, that's what you want. You want people to have attention on what you're trying to say. The other thing that they found is that stories can change the brain's chemistry. When captivated by an emotionally engaging story, the brain actually produces oxytocin, which many of you know actually is like the good hormone, they say. It's shown to increase generosity, compassion, trustworthiness, and sensitivity to social cues because of a story, because they were engaged in a story. And one more thing for you. People are actually affected in their behavior when they are emotionally pulled in. And they prove that with science, trying to sell something. In a social experiment, testers were able to sell $129 worth of trinkets on eBay for over $8,000 by crafting a personal story for each object. So when people thought there was a personal story attached to it, they were more likely to buy. And so what I want you to see is that stories work. And if you are struggling for what to put in your emails, consider a story. And then let me tell you that. Consider a story and connect it. Okay, I want to remind you, go back to point number 3, connect it to the ask. All right. So this can work by you sharing a personal story to help illustrate how your product or your service came to life, why it works so well, maybe challenges that you encountered and what you learned from that. But the real power in boosting your email marketing results is going to come when you share personal stories of your clients and customers. Testimonials are powerful social proof that what you are providing works. And the key to making your testimonial powerful is to tell the transformation story. So you're not just saying, Janie used my product, or Janie came for a clinic and here's what she had to say. And then Janie has a quote that just says, I love being here. This was one of the best clinics I've ever been to. No, I want you to tell the transformation story. What was happening for Janie before she came to your clinic? What did that look like? What was she feeling? And then she came to the clinic and she learned XYZ. And when she left, this is how she felt. This is what she experienced. When she got home, she was doing these things with her horse. This is what happened. That's the transformation story. And that is what is going to pull people in, help them to feel connected, help them to see themselves in that story. So I want you to focus on what were things like before you, and how are things different now because of you or your product or your service. That's how you tell a powerful story. All right, number 5. This is my last tip for you, and it is crucial. Keep learning and growing. In other words, don't quit. What often happens is I will hear from people who say, I tried email marketing for a few months or a few weeks, and I didn't see anything working for me, and so I haven't put my energy back into it. And the reality is, if you go look at your emails and then you use this podcast episode to analyze those, I bet that you have learned some things that you could already take and apply to improve the results you had from those emails. Because email marketing is a long-term sustainable plan for your equestrian business. It is not a one and done. Learning, growing, and consistency must become part of your language if you want to succeed. That means that you show up on a regular cadence for your audience, not just when you have something to sell. Pick a schedule you can stick with and make it a priority. Put it on your calendar. It also means that you learn how to do email marketing, such as in this podcast or other educational resources. You learn how to better communicate by email, which oftentimes comes by way of copywriting. Now, the good news is that I'm not telling you need to be an expert copywriter, but it is a skill that you can learn. You don't need to become an expert. You just need to learn a bit more about communicating in this email format. So if you're looking for a helpful resource on how to write better emails, and really this applies to all things, social media, blog posts, articles, all of that, I have a book for you. It's called Everyone Writes. It's by Ann Handley. I will have a link to it in the show notes. And it's a very practical tool for you to learn from when it comes to writing copy that's going to connect and convert. Because when it comes to email marketing, as much as we would like there to be, there is no such thing as a magic press of a button and everything works like you expected 100% of the time. The best results are going to come as you hone your skills, listen to your audience, and take consistent action. And that's what's happening for the podcast listener I told you about in the beginning of this episode. She emailed me again and said, hey, I wanted to let you know I wrote a new Facebook post that I posted to groups, not my page, using the pointers you gave me on that email. And now I'm getting a ton of requests for trial lessons. I'm so excited. Thank you. What I love is that she took action and then she said, how else can I apply this? So she's applying it to her email marketing and then turning around and saying, and I'm going to go do it here and getting the results of that. And that's so exciting to me. So if you do this work consistently, you will get it. I promise. I want to give you one quote as we end here. It's from Dr. Lee Starrett, and he said, success in anything, real, lasting, long-term success, takes hard work and a lot of frustration. It's worth it in the end when we reach the goal, but the irony is that we reach the future goal by focusing on doing what's right in front of us today. And so for you right now, that goal being to boost the results that you're getting from your email marketing, I want you to do what's in front of you today, which is these 5 tips, these action steps I have given you. So write them down or head to the show notes and then look at your email marketing from the past month and evaluate it based on that. Or if you're saying, Denise, I'm getting started, then go grab my free guide. Save this episode, all right, for helping you in that strategy piece. Go get my free email marketing guide for horse business owners, and it's going to give you the step-by-steps to getting started. And then as you continue and grow and learn, come back to this episode so that you can be evaluating how things are working for you and what changes you can make to get the results that you're after. So I've got that link on the show notes, or you can go straight to stormlily.com/email guide. And I just have one more request for you. If this episode was helpful to you, would you share it with a friend? I have a feeling that you have an equestrian entrepreneur that you talk business things with. And so will you send this to them and say, this was helpful to me. I think you would enjoy it too. Because the more this podcast gets shared, the more equestrian business owners can thrive and grow the horse business that they're working on. And I know that you would love that as much as I would, because we love this equine industry. So share this episode with a friend. Jump onto Apple Podcasts and leave a review if that's where you listen, because that's another way to get more people to join us here on the podcast. All right. I'm so grateful you've joined me here today. Stay tuned, because next week we have another new guest that I know you're going to love learning from. Have an amazing day.